everybody. Welcome to Yesa Indigenous Rising, our podcast here on WKBY 1080 Inspirational Radio. And this is your host, Crystal Cavalier Keck and Jason Crazy Bear. And we are today going to talk about elections and campaigns. So stay tuned.
So halito chi machukma yakuke. That just means hello. I hope you're good. And thank you for tuning in. It's been a busy couple months for us, and MVP resistance, pipeline resistance, and a new strategy has come to pass. Crystal here has stepped up to run for a congressional seat out of North Carolina. And so as we talk about that, I want to talk about some history that some of you might be a lot more familiar with than even myself. We're going to talk about the history of these partisan politics and politics in general in the last century. Some of you might know that the Republican Party at one time was the abolitionist party. Most of our churches of color, communities of color, were advancing through that party. And the Democratic Party at one point was considered in lockstep with the Jim Crow laws. And sometime around the time where we got our champion, Dr. Martin Luther King, and certain political candidates of the Democratic Party started listening to his voice of inclusion, his voice of integration. The parties kind of flipped. And so now it is seen to be the Democratic voice is the voice of inclusion, integration, and equity. And the Republican voice, at least here in the South and Southeast, seems to be the voice of keeping the old ways alive, those old ways that obviously didn't work for us. Now, I just want to explain that it's not as black and white or hard cutting edges that. But it does show up today. For instance, when Crystal started the Native American Caucus, just to bring Native American voices in the state to the political arena, we called both parties because we realized we have members of both parties in our tribal communities in the state. And we didn't get a call back from the Republican Party. We got a call back from the Democratic Party. And so we created the first Native American Democratic Caucus in the state. And after 3 years of going strong against this pipeline intrusion through West Virginia, Virginia, and North Carolina, we had a couple good wins and successes. And people reached out to Crystal and said, have you ever thought about leading from the actual table? And even when we were doing just groundwork, grassroots activism work, Crystal used to always say to me, we need to build leaders in the community because if we are not at the table, we are on the menu. And so Crystal is attempting to get to the table. She's running under the Democratic Party, but she is a candidacy that will transcend bipartisan political ideals. She will reach across the table. And most importantly, she is the first Indigenous water protector land defender to go for this seat. So what does that mean to you? That means that she cannot be bought. She cannot be blackmailed. She cannot be manipulated. When she hears things going on at that table about sacrificing this community or that one, she will speak to the integrity of the seat. The service position, public service position is what they describe these positions to us in the dictionary. And she will hold the people's interests, the people's hearts, and the people's spirits to the best of her ability in that arena. And so why am I telling you this? Because this is the first of its nature. We actually have had Native American women run in the past few decades, or at least one. I know of one ran for Robeson County out of Lumberton. from the Lumbee Nation, one of the the poorest county in North Carolina. She was not successful. She ran against an incumbent, but she put our communities on the map. Crystal is following in that, but she is the first, again, I have to repeat it, Indigenous water protector and land defender and community advocate to ever go for this position. And so basically, I'm letting you know that I don't consider this a historic nomination she's going for. I consider it a her-storic, because this is a tribute to all the powerful women from the abolition and liberation movements and civil rights movements and freedom movements. We all know from our own community stories to even now what's sometimes in the books, if you read between the lines, a lot of men were put up as the heroes of these fights, and the women were actually the silent heroes in the backbones of these movements. Now we are in a generation where our women are coming back to the front line. Another historical fact, on this continent, before European influence, our women were always at the table. We had matriarchal and matrilineal governance systems. So even though we might have a male chief in one community or another, those chiefs were elected and answered and adhered to the grandmothers, the aunties, the elder women's, and the leader women's wishes. And so that's a very profound symbology there. And so what I want you to know is she is filing in Graham this Thursday, the 24th at 1 p.m. This will be well documented. If you want your family, or your relatives to be a part of history, reach out to the campaign in the next 48 hours, and we will tell you where you can meet to be a part of that. We will be walking to the state government building to file, and we will be walking with people of all walks of life, all cultures, all beliefs, all economic backgrounds, no divisions. We received our first Republican donation 2 months ago, not even from the state of Oklahoma. So just so you know, just because you can't vote in North Carolina, or even if you can't vote in the district that she's running for, you can circulate her name, you can circulate her movement, you can circulate what she stands for, and you can certainly donate $1, $2, $3, $5, $500. We do not care. You donate to your personal family's ability, but know that you are donating to someone that truly represents the people in a way that we have not seen. And we really have not seen recent times in our political atmosphere. So what else do I want to say about that? I want to say that I myself, as a son of two parents that walked and served with Dr. King in the civil rights movement in Chicago, it's how they met. It's how I was physically brought here to this world. I shied away from politics most of my life. I've always done grassroots, community service, on the ground. I figure what they can't do at the top, I could do from the bottom, with my 2 legs and my 2 feet. And my wife has enrolled me that this is also a way to take care and serve our people. This is a way to at least be at the table when certain candidates are speaking on behalf of corporations or corporate interests, or speaking about toxifying this community or selling out this community, maybe because the people are more economically challenged, have more going on in their life and cannot speak for themselves. All the stuff we saw going on with the Lambert compressor station in your local community, all the stuff we saw with the MVP pipeline, bullying easements out of people that have been on that land, families been on that land for generations. All that we saw in this one microcosm of a corporate greed and ambition. Crystal will be at the table where all of these things are spoken about, all of these decisions are made, and she will be a voice that says, do not take our freedoms, do not take our blood, sweat, and tears, do not impede on our struggle and strive for success, and most importantly, do not do it in a disingenuous way, in a way that is out of integrity. So even when I understand the reality of industry and energy movement in this country, the way that MVP did it, if I had anything to say about it, they would have been shut down the moment they did something that was disingenuous and out of integrity. Let's see. What else can I talk about? I got a little bit more time with y'all good people. I want you to know that MVP is not completely surrendered. There have been some movements and judgments against them, and they are in court defending themselves. I don't understand this part about the court system. Defending themselves against positions that panels have already voted on. The way I see this is if you were yourself in court for, let's say, a speeding ticket, or let's say a poor choice, something that you did where the law had to be involved, and the jury and the judge ruled against you, and you were able to walk out of that room, go back with a lawyer and say, I'm going to sue you all for making that judgment against me. That's basically what this corporation is doing. It's basically walking out of the judgment, going and getting their high-paid lawyer, coming back to the table, and I'm going to sue you because you cost me money. I guarantee you, as the individual getting legal representation, any mistake you make will cost you money, and you do not get the opportunity to go back and sue for judgments that were made against you. So just so you know, if you haven't followed us, the judgment that was made against the MVP recently was that the Lambert Compressor Station was found to be an environmental injustice because the population that it was trying to build in has already been unequally affected by this industry. So there's a Transco compressor station. I believe there's another one. This was going to be like the third and the biggest compressor station. So it's like telling a community that already suffered the toxins in their air 50 plus years ago, we got another bigger one coming that's going to deplete your air quality even more. And so thanks to current administration's pledge, just so you know, Crystal fought for that pledge of environmental justice to be in the language of the current administration when she was campaigning for it. Thanks to some of these pledges that were made around environmental justice and not picking on previously insulted and assaulted communities, this decision was made. And then it was followed up. I believe that the Virginia DEQ saw the writing on the wall for this pipeline company, and to finally come in at the last minute after 7 years, they started making other judgments around certain forests and environmental water tributaries that MVP.
That was the court.
The court. Well, it wasn't DEQ?
No, DEQ just made that. No, it wasn't. No, DEQ didn't do anything.
My wife knows a lot more about the details. She stays abreast. I usually just put my 2 feet on the ground and stand for the right things that feel right in my spirit, that feel right in my conscience, that feel right in my integrity. So long story short, we're still in that. I want you to know that the way it panned out at the end looked a little bit like a David and Goliath, meaning a small population of our voice stood up against a large population of billions and dollars in representations and legal representations. And we won this one. And so what I want you to know, however symbolic and wonderful that truth is. In today's day and age, we don't want to rely on a David and Goliath strategy. We need all the community to stand, because this won't be the last. MVP won't be the last. They've already looked at our homes and our communities as weaker and more able to manipulate and influence. And so they won't be the first dirty corporation that wants to exploit, and rather than give to the soil, extract the fruits of the soil. So this is just my appeal to you to stay with us, stay connected, keep listening, keep praying. You know, I never undervalue the power of prayer. I know some of you couldn't physically be out there because you had jobs and things. Some of you had positions that you had to honor and adhere to, bylaws and such, all of these things that work against standing for the right thing. And I know that some of you silently prayed and we got our win. So I want to honor you, thank you, ask you for those to keep on coming and stay continued. And really, if you can't do anything around my wife's candidacy, that prayer is equally valuable. We'll take that. Not only the prayer for her success in her endeavor, but the prayer for her protection, because I guarantee you it is not lost on their radar that a water protector is seeking a seat at the table in the White House. So there is going to be a lot of people that do not want that to happen, do not want to see that happen. And we're going to need your prayers of protection, your prayers of resilience, your prayers that, her spirit and her demeanor is strong and powerful, as you've seen it on the grassroots activism trail. We want her to be equally as powerful at that table, standing up for those things that are the least spoken about, the least defended, the least protected, and need the most respect and reverence addressed to them, from our personal communities all the way down to the soil and water that we live on. And so I'm going to let you go now, and just wish you a wonderful, blessed day. And we love you from our hearts to yours, and we will try to be a lot more regular on this podcast coming up. And have a wonderful day.
So that was Jason giving his talk about my candidacy. I just wanted to tell you guys that on March the 12th, we are holding an education event in Danville. It's open to all residents of Pittsylvania County. We're going to be talking about health impacts. We're also going to be talking about, opportunities around environmental justice, more accessible in our communities. We're going to be having panel speakers and discussions featuring environmental justice researchers, advocates, and then we're going to be heading this up for the next couple of months, because the key is education so this doesn't happen again. Also, I want for you guys to understand the relationships between people, climate justice, environment, with topics such as health impacts, energy justice, food systems, and very North Carolina and Virginia specific impacts that are affecting our rural communities. Now, there's a lot of human rights issues that are facing our communities, especially our rural communities, that's happening, like the right to clean water, the right to clean air, as well as the right to just exist as a human being. So please stay tuned, email us or call the radio station to find out about March the 12th. It's a Saturday from 10 o'clock until 1 o'clock, where we will have people out talking about these things. We will also provide snacks and beverages, so probably sandwiches and beverages. We are doing this social distance because we are in the middle of a pandemic and we want everybody to be safe. So please stay tuned until next week. for our next radio podcast, where we will be talking about issues in our communities that you can be educated on and stay informed. So thank you so much for listening to Yesa Indigenous Rising podcast on WKBY Inspirational Radio. So we will see you soon. For more information about my campaign, please visit my website at voteforcrystalcavalier.com, where you can learn about my platform and the issues that I hope to raise. And I will still be out here fighting the MVP and any other environmental degradations that come up in the community. Like I was telling Jason before, I have stepped up to be the Bannister River water keeper. So I'm going to need your help in the community to help protect the water of the Bannister River. And we will talk more about that, what that means, on next week's podcast radio show. So please stay tuned and listen for more information about the Bannister River, what we can do about environmental education, and how we can come together as a community and build unity. So thank you so much for listening to our podcast.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed the show.